Question. What's the name of parenthesis?
Others. All right, friends, Shabbat Shalom, good morning. We're going to go ahead and get started on page 73. Please rise. ברוך אתה מלך העולם, אשר נתן לשכלי בינה, להבחין בין יום ובין לילה. ברוך אתה מלך העולם, שעשני בצלמו. ברוך אתה מלך העולם, שעשני ישראל. ברוך אתה מלך העולם, שעשני בן חורים. ברוך אתה מלך העולם, פוקח עברים. ברוך אתה מלך העולם, מלביש ערמים. ברוך אתה מלך העולם, מתיר אסורים. ברוך אתה מלך העולם, זוקף כפופים. ברוך אתה מלך העולם, מוכר ארץ על המים. ברוך אתה מלך העולם, שעשה לי כל צרכי. ברוך אתה מלך העולם, המכין צדיק גבר. ברוך אתה מלך העולם, עוזר ישראל בגבורה. ברוך אתה מלך העולם, עוזר ישראל בתפארה. ברוך אתה מלך העולם, אדוני הארץ כולה. We may be seated 134. Hallelujah, 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 bekocho, hallelujah, berkiauzo, hallelujah, bigburotav, hallelujah, kerogulo. Hallelujah, 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 beteka shofar, hallelujah, benevel bechinor, hallelujah, betov umchor, hallelujah, beminim be'ugav, hallelujah, 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 b'tziltzei shema, hallelujah, b'tziltzei tshuvah, kol hashema te'aleluya, hallelujah, hallelujah. Page 143. Nishmat kol chai, yarech et shimcha. On page 147. Yidmelach umi yeshvelach umi aroch lach v'yalagad b'koron alei v'rei shamayim v'aretz na'elcha neshpecha chanferecha v'navech shem kodshecha kamod al v'brachin yoshiat Adonai v'chol kravai et shem kodsho v'yal b'tatzimo guzecha v'yal b'kvod shemecha v'gibor l'netzach v'noro b'noratecha המלך היושב על הכיסא, רם ונישא, שוכן על מרום וקדוש שמו. וחשבנו צדיקים באדוני, ישרים רבה תהילה, בפי ישרים תקרא, ובדברי צדיקים תתברך, ובשם חסידים תגרמה, ובקרב קדושים תתקדש. ומקלות רבעות עמך בית ישראל. ברינה לפרשת שכן קרובה, קוצר לפניך, אדוני אלוהינו, אלוהי אבותינו. להודות אל לשבח, לבאר לרומם להלדר, לברך להלל קולס, על כל דברי שבח ותשבחות, דוד בן ישי עבדך משיחך, ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו. ולנחרות בקדש בשמיים בארץ, כלכנה עלינו ולבק אבותינו, ששפחה לב וזמרה, עוז וממשלה, נצח גדולה וגבורה, תהילה ותפארת, קדושה ומלכות, ברכות והודאות, מעתה ועד עולם. ברוך אתה אדוני, המלך גדול ותשבחות, אל הודות אדון נפלאות, הבחר בשירי זמרה, ולחלחל העולמים. יקרא ויתקדש שמי בעולם, יאמר דברי חירותי וימליך מלכותי, וחיי כל וביומי כל, חיי כל בית ישראל, וגלה בזמן קריב ימרו. יהי שמירה במבורך, ולעולם לעולמיה. יתברך וישתבח, יתברך רם ויתנשא, יתהדר ויתעלה, יתעלה שמי לקודשה, בריאו. ולא מכל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירה בעולמה, במהרו, אמן. Please rise for Baruch, page 152. Baruch et Adonai המבורך. Baruch Adonai מבורך לעולם ועד. May be seated. Baruch et Adonai למלך ותורך חושך, עושה שלום ובורא הכל. הכל יודוך והכל ישבחוך והכל יאמרו, אם קדוש אדוני. אין כערכך ואין זולתך, אפס בלתך ומידון מלך. אין כערכך ואין זולתך, אפס בלתך ומידון מלך. אין כערכך אלוהינו בעולם הזה, ואין זולתך מלכי עולם הבא. אפס בלתך גואל לימוד במשיח, יודו מלך המשיח לתחיית המתים. אל אדון על כל המעשים, ברוך ומבורך בפי כל נשמה, גודלו וטובו מלא עולם. דעת ותבונה סובב אימותם, המתגאה על חיות הקודש ונדר בכבוד על המרכבה. זכות ומישור לפני חיסו, חסד ורחמים לפני כבודו. טובים מאורות שברא אלוהינו יצרם בדעת ובינה ובהשכל, כוח וגבורה נתן בהם. להיות מושלים בקרב תבל, מלאים זיו ופיקים נוגה, נעזיבם בכל העולם. שמחים בצאתם וששים בבואם, עושים בהם הרצון קודם. פאר בכבוד נותנים לשמור, זוהרינה לזכר מלכותו. קרא לשמש ויזרח אור, ראה והתקין צורת הלבנה. שבח נותנים לו כל זמר מרום. פרק וגדול השרפים ואופנים בחיות הקודש. לילה של שבת מכל המעשים, we're at 157. תברך משה אשר בחסי ידיך ואומר אור שעשית יפרוך הסלע. תברך צורנו מלכנו וגואלנו בורא קדושים, ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו. וכולם פותחים את פיהם בקדושה ובתורה, בשירה ובזמרה, מפרחים ומשבחים, פרים ומריצים ומרגישים, וממליכים את שמה אל המלך, הגדול יגמור וענרה קדוש הוא. וכולם וכולם מקבלים עליהם ומלכות שמנזה מזה, ונותנים רשות זה לעשה, להקדיש רצונם בנחת רוח, בשפה רב ונעימה, קדושה כולם כאחד, עונים ואומרים ביראה. קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות הארץ כבודו. יפנית בחר הקדוש בראש קדושים נשים ומצרפים ומתם משבחים ואומרים ברוך כבוד אדוני במקומו ברוך כבוד יתנו. אור חדש על ציון צעיר ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו ואור חדש על ציון צעיר ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר המאורות ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר המאורות. 163 Allah Rabbanu Adonai Eloheinu Kemlanu Abetira Hamata Aleinu Abinu Malkeinu Abahura Oteinu Shabbat Becha Abinu Malkeinu Abati Lamdim Kechayim Kenjechonenu Lamdeinu Aminu Amarach Haman Hamrachem Rachem Aleinu Vatim Ribeinu Lehavinu Haskil Lishmoa Vilemodu Lilamed Lishmor Velasod Ulkayem Et Kol Divrei Talmud Torah Techa Be'Amma Be'Ha Erkeneinu Be'Torah Techa Be'Davek Be'Beinu Be'Mitzvotecha Be'Enei Yached Le'Vaveinu Le'Ava U'Yira Et Shemecha Ve'Lo Nevosh Ve'Olam Ha'ed Ve'Lo Nevosh Ve'Olam Ha'ed Ki V'Shem Kodshecha Hagadol Hanurah B'Tachnu Nagila B'Nismecha Nagila B'Nismecha B'Yeshuatecha Me'avienu V'Shalom Me'arkan K'Zaharet V'Tolichenu Kol Mimihur Le'artzenu Ki Elohim Yeshua B'Hata Uvanu B'Harta Mikol B'Lashon V'Keratanu L'Shimcha Hagadol Selah Be'emet Le'odom Lecha U'Yachecha U'Yachecha Me'ahava Baruch Atah Adonai Avochem Yisrael Ve'ahava Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha B'chol levecha B'chol nafshecha B'chol me'otecha Ve'hayu Advarim ha'ele Asher Anuki Mitzavecha Ayom Alevavecha V'shinantam Levanecha V'dibartam V'shivtecha B'beitecha U'lechtecha B'derech U'shomrecha U'kumecha U'kshartam Le'od Al Yadecha V'yutotacha B'einecha U'chavtam All is so B'einecha U'visharecha. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, הייתם קדושים אלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת. אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת. לדור קיים ושמו קיים, בפרסון נכון ומלכותו, ומתו ליד קיימת, ודבריו חיים וקיימים. באמת שעזרנו עלינו ולאהובתנו מלכנו ולכבותנו, גולנו גואל אבותינו, יוצאנו ישועתנו, פנינו מצאנו מעולם שמך, אלוהים זולתך, זרוע אבותינו אנחנו לעולם. משה וישראל חנש רב בשמחה רבה, ואמרו כולם מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נטר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. שיר החדשה שיפו גדול נמלא שמך על שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. צור ישראל קומה בעזרת ישראל, ובדחינו מחד יהודה וישראל, גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל, ברוך אתה אדוני, God Israel. Private Army Down, pages 175 through 192. repeat the Amidah now, back on page 175. Adonai Sefatahitahu V'Yagid Tehilateha Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avoteinu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Saba Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor V'Hanora El Elyon Romel Chasadim Tovim, Mekonei Hakol, Vizocher Chastei Avot, Umeviko El Livnei B'neihem, Leman Shemo Ve'ava, Melech Lozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Uvokei Tzara, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Bechayei Beitim Atara, Yoshia Mari Hatal, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Bechayei Meitim Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Berofech Olim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem, Embunatalo, Lishenei Afar, Michamo Chabal Yehuro, Umito Melach, Melech Memi, Umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, Ve'emanatah Chayot Meitim, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mechayeh HaMeitim. Please rise for the Kedusha. 179. Mekadesh et Shimcha ba'olam, Keshem shemakdishim oto mishmemaro, Kakatuv al yad neviecha, Vekaraz ve'el zeh ve'omar, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzebaot, Melech haaretz kevodo, Hasbekol ra'ash gadol, Adir v'chazak mashmi'im kol, Minasim le'omat zerafim, Lu'atam baruch yomeru, Baruch kevod Adonai, Mimkom chamalkeinu, Tofia v'tim lo chaleinu, Kimech hakim, Anachnu lah, Matai tim lo b'tzion, Ve'karov yamin le'olam va'et tishkon, Titgadal ve'titgadash, Ve'tov Yerushalayim bircha, Ve'dor v'ador, Uve'netzach netzachim, Ve'neinu tirena, Malchutecha, Kadavar, Amor, Ve'shir Eluzecha, Al Yedei David Mashiach Tzidkecha, Yimloch Adonai le'olam, Elohai Yitzion, V'dor, Hallelujah. V'dor nagid godlecha, U'lenetzach netzachim kedushacha naqdish, V'shivcha leinu mipinu lo yamus elam va'ed, Kimal kadosh kadosh ata, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el ha'kadosh. You may be seated. 181. Yismach, 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 Moshe b'matnan, b'matnan, b'matnan chelko, Ki even Ne'eman, Ne'eman, Ay karatalo, ay, Yismach, 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 Moshe b'matnan, b'matnan, b'matnan chelko, Ki even Ne'eman, Ne'eman, Ay karatalo. V'tifer b'rasho v'tata, ועמדו לפניך על הר סיני, ושני לוחות אבנים הוריד בידו, וכתוב בהם שמירת שבת, וכן כתוב בתורתך. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לתורתם ברית עולם. ונביא בני ישראל עתיד לעולם, כי 12 ימים שמם את הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש. ולא נתתו למלאנו פלגי ארצות, ולא חינכתו מלכנו לעובדי פסילים, וגם ברכתו לא ישכנו ערלים, כי ישראל עמך נתתו באהבה, לזרע יעקב אשר בם, בחרתם. מקדשי שביעי שבת, כולם יחיו, יתעמדו בטבח השבת, והשביעי רצית בו, וקידשתו שבת, חמדת ימים אותו, קראת זכר למעשה בראשית. אלוהינו אלוהי אבותינו רצה במנוחתנו, קדשנו במצוותיך ותן חלקנו בתורתך, שמנו בטובך ושמחנו בישועתך, ותאר ליבנו לעובדך באמת, והנחילנו אדוני אלוהינו באהבה וברצון, ואנוכו ישראל מקדשי שמך. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. רצה אדוני אלוהינו לעמך ישראל, וביא תפילתם והשבת עבודה לפיר ביתך ואישי ישראל, ותפילתם באהבה תקבל ברצון, תהי לרצון תמיד. עבודת ישראל עמך ותחזינה עינינו בשובך לציון ברחמים. ברוך אתה אדוני המחזיר שכינתו לציון. מודים אנחנו שתבנה לנו לבבנו ללמד צורכנו ינשנו יעקב יתברך וקומם שמך מלכים תמיד אליו בעת, ידעו סלע, ועלו את שמך באמת, הישרו יתנו וישרו סלע, ברוך אתה אדוני, עד שמך חנה להודו. לא יקל לבתנו ברכנו בברכה משדשת התורה, הקריבה על ידי משה עבדך, ומרם כי אהרון ובניו, כהנים על קדשך כאמור. יברכני וישמרך, ירנק נבלך ויחונך, שרנק נבלך וישם לך שלום. שים שלום טובה וברכה, חן וחסד רחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל עמך. ברכנו אבינו כולנו כאחד באור פניך, כי באור פניך נתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו. שים שלום בעולם טובה וברכה, חן וחסד רחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל עמך. תורת חיים ואהבת חסד, צדקה וברכה ורחמים וחיים ושלום. שים שלום בעולם טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל עמך. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל, בכל עת ובכל שעה לשלומך. ברוך אתה אדוני ברכת עמו ישראל ועד שלום. 193. יתגדל ויתקרש שמי רבה. ואמר יברח ירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון ויום החנכי לכל בית ישראל. וגלה בזמן קריב ויאמרו יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם לעלמי עמי Shabbat, Baruch Mami Nasevi, the David Levi, Allah made a good job. Lelami Kobrachata, Shirata, Kata Venechamata, Dami Rami Mami Meru. Amen. Jikabat Slotan, Rotan, the Chosho, Konama Bondi Vishmaya Meru. Amen. Ishlam Ramin Shemaya, Chemal Korjo Meru. Amen. Ose Shalom Bimroma, Yase Shalom, Alina Vel, Ko Israel Vel, Ko Yoshvit Devel, Meru. Amen. 58. All right, we're going to begin the Torah service, page 195. If Avi Eliyahu wouldn't mind being the Torah carrier, and how about Mike and Lara, if you could stand by the ark in preparation for its opening. I'll just call it out right now. Anita, you're going to be the first Aliyah, Bat Kohen, and Paul Raskin and Flo Raskin, the second Aliyah, Levi. Okay, so then I'll get the rest as we go through. All right, 195. Ein kamocha ba'Elohim Adonai, ein kema'atzecha, malchutecha malchut kol olamim, u'bemshaltecha b'chol dor v'dor. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Adonai os le'amo yitein, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom, Avarachim eti v'zertzon et Zion, Dinei Chobot Yerushalayim, Dinei Chobot Vayomer Moshe, Me'anusu oirecha, Me'anusu misanecha, Mimanecha, Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, Urevar Adonai, Yerushalayim, Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah, Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah, Le'amo Yisrael, B'kedushato. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Ashevo Yachdav Lecha Adonai Hagidula Hagidula Hatiferet Ve'aneitza Ve'ahod Yehol Hashamayim Ruach Haaretz Yehol Hashamayim Ruach Adonai Amar
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
Ora, 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 hallelujah. Ora, ora, hallelujah. Hallelujah. Ora, ora, hallelujah. All right, friends, we're going to turn to the Torah portion of Shoftim. Which is Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 18, which is on page, someone probably already has it. What is it? 1088, 1088. 1088. Shoftim. Shoftim means judges. And the first line is Shoftim and Shotrim, which they would be judges and police. But basically, and there it's translated as judges and magistrates. But what it essentially means is, people who have to interpret the laws and people who have to enforce the laws, right? That's what you need to run a society. This was my bar mitzvah portion. Of the 22 years I've been here, I think it's been a bar mitzvah 17 out of the 22 years, something like that, like almost every year. But this time instead we've got a birthday boy who's a couple years past his bar mitzvah. So Joel Piper's going to have the 7th Aliyah. So we will get to celebrate him doing that. Right? You're not the maftir, right? Or Joe? Oh, you're the maftir. So no, she's reading. So you have the 8th Aliyah. So yeah, all right. So scratch that. Anyway, that's what it is. But also in that very first reading, 18 through 20, you have the very famous line, Tzedek, Tzedek, Tirdoth, which is usually translated as justice, justice, shall you pursue. Does it exactly mean that? We'll talk about it later, maybe. The word, if you know that root, Sadi, Dalit, Kuf, right? I know a couple other words with that. Sadiq, which doesn't mean a justice person, right? Or you have tzedakah, which means charity or benevolence or righteousness. So, there's a lot of possibilities of what tzedek, tzedek, tirdoth means, but still, we're trying to create a society where it works and the laws work and it's a just society. So anyway, more on that a little bit later. And 18 through 20, we call upon Anina Block, Bat Cohen for the first Aliyah.
Ha'amod, Hanabat, Edith, but leave HaKohen, Baruch Shanatan Tolim, O Yisrael, B'Kedushato. Be'atem Ha'rekim, Adonai Elohechem, Ha'yimochem Hayom. Baruch Hu Adonai HaMorach, Baruch Adonai Morach Le'olam Va'ed, Baruch Adonai Morach Le'olam Va'ed, Baruch Atah Adonai Elohim Melech Haolam,
Asher Barabana Mikohani, Benataman Hector, Baruch Atanai, Notain HaTorah.
Amen. Amen. Shoftim v'shoftim, titen lecha v'choshecha asher Adonai Elohecha noten lecha lishpatecha v'shaftu et ha'am mishpat tzedek. Lo tatem mishpat, lo takir panim, velo tikach shochad, ki hashochad ya'aver enei chachamim v'yisalev divrei tzadikim. Tzedek tzedek tirdof למען תחיה וירשת את הארץ אשר אדוני אלוהיך נותן לה.
Baruch Atanai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher atamanu Torah emet, v'hayei olam lo tavetachinu, Baruch Atanai, noten HaTorah.
Amen. Yashua.
So even though we're going to be talking more about the concept of justice in this parsha, the next part we digress into idolatry. And is it actually, is it a digression, right? You know, it's framed throughout. Part of a just society is obeying God and not idols. So they talk about an altar and no posts beside the altar. And then the death penalty by stoning. And you can only give the death penalty if you have two witnesses. And from that passage, the Talmud takes it and makes it even harder to actually administer the death penalty, almost impossible. Not only do you have to have two witnesses, they can't be related, and this is not in the Torah, but later in the Talmud, the two witnesses have to warn you as you're doing the act, as you're about to commit a crime that's punishable for capital punishment, so it becomes very, very difficult to carry out. But anyway, it's all derived from this little passage, 16:21 through 17:7.
Yamdu, Seraphreda bat Hatzkel v'Chaika, v'Pinchas and Reuben Bracha v'Avrum Halevi Sheni.
Baruch et Adonai Haborach.
Baruch Adonai
Baruch Adonai Baruch Elam Boed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. V'nasan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten HaTorah. Amen. Amen. Lo tita lecha asherah kol etz el mizbach Adonai Elohecha asher taseh lach. V'lo takim lecha matzeva asher saneh Adonai Elohecha lo tizbach l'Adonai Elohecha shor baseh asher Adonai asher yiyavo mum kol davar ki tovat Adonai Elohecha hivu ki matzev dekirbecha ve'achad she'avecha Asher Adonai Elohecha noten lach ish o isha asher yaseh hagav ve'enei Adonai Elohecha la'avor berito v'yelech v'ya'avod Elohim acherim v'yishtachu lahem v'lashemesh oliyaveyacho lechol tzva hashamayim asher lo tziviti v'hugad lecha v'shamata ודרשת היטב, והנה אמת נכון הדבר, נעשתה התועבה הזאת בישראל, והוצאת את האיש ההוא, את האישה ההיא, אשר עשו את הדבר הרע, הזה אל שעריך, את האיש או את האישה וסקלתם באבנים ומתו על פי שניים עדים או שלושה עדים יומת המת לא יומת על פי עד אחד יד העדים תבוא בראשונה להמיתו ויד כל העם באחרונה ובירתה בקרבך. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נתן בסופנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
right, so chapter 17, verses 8 through 10 in Deuteronomy. If you can't figure out the case, then we have to, you can consult both the Levite and the Shofet. So you have kind of in a way you have a check and balance, but you have the priests, the Levites on the one hand, and also the appointed judges on the other. So you have a hereditary group and an appointed group kind of working together. They're different, they each bring different perspectives. So that is in the next passage. Chapter 17, verses 8 through 10, and remembering on your side we have Judy.
Ta'amod Yehudipat Sviva Hana Hava Shlishi.
Baruch Hu Adonai Hamvorah.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorah Me'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorah Me'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam, Asher bachar banu mikol hamim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Amen. Kifale mimcha davar lemishpat ben dan ladam ben din ledin uben nega lanega divrei rivot yisha'arecha v'kamta v'alita el hamakom asher yivchar Adonai Elohecha bo uvata el hakohanim haLevim v'el hashofet asher yihya b'yamim hahem ודרשת והגידו לך את דבר המשפט ועשית על פי הדבר אשר יגידו לך מן המקום ההוא אשר יבחר אדוני ושמרת לעשות ככל אשר יורוך.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet b'chayei olam nata b'tochinu. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
And may your mother Eva's memory be a blessing to you, Judy, an amazing woman. We are now on the fourth Aliyah, verses 11 through 13. You don't deviate from the ruling either to the right or the left. I don't think they meant that politically as we would if we said the same thing today, but it means keep on the straight and narrow path. And for the fourth Aliyah, we call upon Lowell Davis, honoring the yortzeit of his father and uncle, Philip Davis and David Davis.
Ya'amod Arya Lev ben Faival Revi'i.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorah.
Baruch Adonai Me'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorah Me'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam, Asher bachar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Al pi haTorah asher yorucha v'al hamishpat asher yomru lecha ta'aseh lo tasur min hadavar asher yagiru lecha yamin u'shmol v'ha'ish asher ya'aseh b'zadon levilti shemoa el hakohen ta'amod l'sharet sham et Adonai Elohecha O El HaShofet u'meit ha'ish hahu u'virta hara mi'Yisrael v'chol ha'am yishma'u v'yira'u v'lo yezidun od. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam, Asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
We're up to the fifth Aliyah, which is verses 14 through 17. It's about appointing kings. which you can be, God acknowledged begrudgingly. If you have to do it, do it. But the problem is they are likely to behave a certain way, like amass horses and wives and things. And that's exactly what happens, as you will see throughout the book of Kings. All right, we call upon the cart cat's mother and granddaughter for the 5th Aliyah. As the middle generation watches proudly.
Shabbat Aram, Ragoda, Milabat, Edan, Yehudit, Hamishi.
Asher b'charbanu mikol ha'ami v'natamanu et Torato Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen. Amen. Ki tavo el ha'aretz asher Adonai Elohecha noten lach v'irashtach v'yashavta bach v'yamarta asima alai melech kechol hagoyim asher svivotai Som tasim alecha melech asher yivchar Adonai Elohecha bo yikerevechav tasim alecha melech lo tuchal latet alecha ish nachri asher lo achicha hu gach lo yavelo susim velo yashiv et ha'am mitzvayma lema'an harbot sus L'Adonai amar lachem lo tosifun lashuv b'derech hazeh od lo yarbelo nashim v'lo yasor levavo v'chesed v'zahav lo yarbelo me'od.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher natan lanu Torah temet v'chayei olam natan b'tovenu Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen.
We're up to the 6th Aliyah, chapter 17 in Deuteronomy, verses 18 through 20. Make sure if you have a king that the Torah is by his side to guide him. We call upon Steve Grossman and Joe Rosenthal for the 6th Aliyah. Good friends of the birthday boy, of course, but also very recent birthday.
Yamdu, thank you. Yoel ben Abraham Yehuda, Miriam ben Abraham Cyril, Shishi.
Baruch et Adonai HaMavarach.
Baruch Adonai HaMavarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMavarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen. Amen. V'hayakashiv tov al kisei mamlachto v'chatav lo et mishnei hatocha hazot al sefer milifnei hakohanim haleviim v'hayata imo v'karavo kol yemei chayav lema'an yilma le'yira et Adonai Elohav lishmor et kol divrei haTorah hazot v'yad hachukim ha'ele la'asotam levilti hum levavo me'echav ulevilti sor min hamitz Sor min ha-mitzvah yamin u'samol lema'an ya'arich yamim al mamlachto u'banav b'keren Yisrael.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet b'chayei olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
The 7th Aliyah, chapter 18, verses 1 through 5, call upon Norm and Jan Frankel, as Norm is commemorating the York side of his brother Larry. And this is about reminded that the Levites need your help. They don't have their own land. They need to live off what the other tribes produce.
Yamdu. Norm ben Ruben Hanavet. Malkabat Moshe Barut. She.
Baruch Adonai HaBaruch.
Baruch Adonai HaBaruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaBaruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'charanu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Toratav. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Lo yihiyeh, amen, lo yihiyeh, lakohanim halavim kol shevet Levi, chelek menachala im Yisrael, Ishei Adonai menachalato yochelun, menachala lo yihiyeh lo bekerev echav, Adonai hu nachalato ka'asher diber lo, v'zeh yihiyeh mishpat hakohanim me'ed ha'am me'ed zochei hazevech yimshor yimseh v'natan lekohen hazro v'halchayayim v'hakevah v'eshit teganecha tiroshcha mitzharecha v'eshit gesoncha titen lo Kivo v'achar Adonai Elohecha mikol shvatecha la'amod l'sharet b'shem Adonai u'banav kol hayamim.
Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Please rise for Chatzi Kaddish.
Yikara Shemei Rabba.
Amen.
Yamadi Rahute Yamichmachute.
V'chayechonu v'yomechon v'chayetecho beit Yisrael b'gala u'bizman karib. Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba mevorach le'olam lo me'amaya yitbarach.
Yitbarach ve'yishtabach v'yitbar v'yitamam yinaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalav Shemei Kudisham
Richu
La'ela mikol berchata v'shirata
Tushbechata b'nehemata Ta'amiran me'alma.
Imaru
Amen.
Right, may be seated, and we now turn to page 1106, 1106 for the Mafter Aliyah. It's about, it comes on the heels of this passage where they find an unknown corpse, and what do you do with that? And so at this point they're saying, they're talking about not letting blood guilt into your community, but there's also, you can't assume, you have to assume innocence. You can't assume that anyone in particular did it, no matter what it looks like. There's a whole ritual cleansing with the red heifer. And some of that precedes what we're going to actually be reading in those last 3 verses, but that's what we were talking about. We call upon our birthday boy, Joel Pizer, for the Aliyah, and a good friend of the family, Amy Kessler, to read the portion.
Yavod, Abraham Yitzhak ben Menachem Adel HaMatir.
Baruch hu et Adonai Amborah.
Baruch Adonai
Baruch Adonai Amborah Le'olam Goed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. V'anu v'amru yadeinu lo shafchu et hadam hazeh ve'einenu lo ra'u kaper le'amcha Yisrael asher kadita Adonai v'al titen dam maki bekerev amcha Yisrael Nikaper lahem hadam ve'ata tivaer hadam hanaki mekubecha ki ta'aseh hayashar
B'nei Adonai.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam notah b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Actually, first we got the birthday Mishabera, so let's get that going. Before I do the generals. Mishabera Havatino Abraham Yitzhak Yaakov Sarah Chana Kablea Uvarech et Avram Yitzhak ben Menachem Mendel She'ala Lifot HaMakom Lifot HaTorah Lifot HaShabbat Lifot Et Yom Holedet
Sameach, Yom Holedet Sameach, Yom Holedet Sameach, Yom Holedet Sameach.
HaKadosh Baruch Hu yichonech אותו ואת כל משפחתו וישלח לך בהצלחה בכל מעשי ידיו וכל שלך ונאמר
Amen.
And the Lord bless Francis, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Sarah, Becca, Rachel, and Leah, bless you, Joel Pizer, our birthday boy who has been called up to honor this place, the Torah, Shabbat, and your own birthday, significant one, I believe. May the Holy Blessed One bless you and your whole family, and may God send success in all the work of your very skillful hands with all Israel, brothers and sisters, friends, family, community, and let us say Amen. Happy birthday, Joel. All right, inclusive Mishavera for all who read. Shabbat HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yivrechotam Mishpachotam Vayichlach Bracha V'Atzchot V'chol Maseidim Kol Shlechem V'Nomar Amen. A list of names of those who are ill. I know both of these people love when I call them without telling them, but if Judy and Jill might want to sing a Mishaberach today, it would be great. And if they can't, they won't come up here. But I should give them at least 30 seconds of warning. Well, I'm giving them 30 seconds, but that's about it. So we're thinking especially today of Scott Lawrence, Dahlia Bat Razel, Barbara Rose, Ilya Oak, Leonie Bat Shana, Shabtai Dov Ben Shimon Moshe, Rosie Berman, Yechiel Ben Elisa, Shulamit Bat Leah, Elisa Bat Rav Raphael Ben Esther, Moshe Ben Ruven, Patricia Baruch Hunter Rose, Rachel Shulamit Bat Yudit, Rachel Bat Esther Fruma, Udo Rivka Bat Shmuel Papola, Yona Yosef Ben Shmuel, Yona Ben Tova, Ariel Chaim, Esther Malka Bat Salah Ben Moshe, Ziva Hasson, Sarah Bat Malka, Shlomo Ben Gittel Ben Moshe, Warren Church, Marge Glostein, Shachar Bat Sarah, Holly White, Brian Wade, Geraldine Louise Hoffman, Lisa Egger, Mary Beth Lasher. If you have any other friends of those who are ill, please say their names out loud at this time. Just go ahead and say them. We call upon Judy and Jill to beautifully sing the Mishaberach. When we continue to be with these people in their time of need.
Mishaberach Avoteinu Avraham Yitzhak Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel Leah Uyevarech Merabeh Et HaOlim El Narefana El Narefana El Narefana El Narefana Mishaberach Avoteinu Avraham Yitzhak Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel Leah Uyevarech Merabeh Et HaOlim.
We rise now for the Hadbah and Galila. We call upon Elizabeth Sims and Fifi Goodfellow. All right, we may be seated. And for the Haftarah, we turn to page 1107, or really 1108. when it starts, Isaiah chapter 51. This is the next Haftarah of consolation following Tisha B'Av. And this is really one of my favorite ones, besides being my own bar mitzvah Haftarah and portion, so I kind of know it. You'll see it's especially beautiful in its images of comfort. A lot of the images of light that you see in Lachadodi are actually lifted directly from this Torah portion. And it has one of my favorite Israeli dances in it, Manavu, the good tidings, the herald coming from the mountaintops. Manavu el Harim. And still fondly remembering Evan Karazi, who was a dancer, breaking into the dance in the middle of his Haftarah. Pretty cool. He didn't actually break into it. He actually, it was planned. But it's 4. 5. There's very few get 5. 5 stars, 5 Torah, 4 Torah ranking, 4 Torahs in my ranking system. All right, but I'm a tough grader. It's an even bell curve, right?
Oh man, that's intimidating.
Well, yeah. But I remember I learned it. A story I've told many times before. I learned it while also learning Freebird on the same cassette tape during Menucha at camp. So.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'mi'im tovim ratza b'divreihem hanemorim be'emet Baruch atah Adonai abocher b'torah Moshe Abdo, Yisrael Amo, V'yei Kohemet, V'tzedek. Anochi, Menachemchem, Miyad Vatiri, Menosh Yamut, Umiven Adam, Chatzir Yinatain, Vatishkach, Adonai Osecha, Noteh Shamayim, Yoseg Haaretz, Vatefachet Tamid Kol Hayom Mipnei Hamat HaMetzik Ka'asher Konein Lehashchit V'yayei Hamat HaMetzik Michartzoeh Lehipateach V'lo yamut lashachat, v'lo yechzar lachmo. V'anochi Adonai Elohecha, roga hayam, v'yachamu galav. Adonai tzvaot shemo, v'yasim Devarai beficha, uvtzel yadi, kesiticha, lito hashamayim, v'lisod haaretz, v'leimor l'tzion, ami ata. Hitori, kumi, Yerushalayim asher shatit miyad Adonai et kos hamato et kubat kos haterela shatit matit Emenachela מקורבנים ילדה ואין מחזיק בידה מקורבנים ידלה שתיים הנה קורותייך מיינוד לך השוד והשבר והרעב והחרב מענק בנייך ופו שחטו בראש כל חוצות כתוב מחמר המלאים חמת אדוני גרת אלוהי לכן שבינה זאת ענייה ושקרת ולא מיין כה אמר אדונייך אדוני אלוהיך יריב עמו הנה לקחתי בידך את כוס התרעלה את קופת כוס המתי לא תוסיפי לשתותה עוד ושמתיה ביד נוגייך אשר אמרו לנפשך שכי ונעבורה ותשימי כארץ גפך וכחוץ לעוברים אורי לבשי עוזך ציון לבשי בגדי תפארתך ירושלים עיר הקודש כי לא יוסיף יברך העוד ערל וטמא התנערי מעפר קומי שבי ירושלים התפתחי מוסרי צפרך שליחת ציון כי כה אמר אדוני חינם נמכרתם ולא בכסף תגאלו כי כה אמר אדוני אדוני מצרים ירד עמי בראשונה לגור שם ואסור באפס אשקו ואתה מליפו נאום אדוני כי לקח עמי חינם יהללו נאום אדוני ותמיד כל היום שמי מנועת לכן ידע עמי שמי לכן ביום ההוא כי אני הוא המדבר הנני מנפו על החורים רגליהם Mevaser Mashmiya Shalom Mevaser Tov Mashmiya Yeshua Omer L'Tzion Malach Elohai Kol Sofai Nasuko Yachdav Yiranenu Ki Ayin B'ayin Yeru V'shuv Adonai Tzion Pitzchu Ranenu Yachdav Arvot Yerushalayim Ki nicham Adonai Amo Go'al Yerushalayim Chasav Adonai Et Zroa Kadsho Le'enei Kol HaGoyim V'ra'u Kol Afsei Haaretz Et Yeshuat Eloheinu Suru Te'u Misham Tamei Atigau Te'u Mitoka Ibaru Nosei Kilei Adonai Ki lo V'chipatzon Teitzeu Uvinu Salao Telechun Ki cholech Livnechem Adonai Umasivchem Elohei Yisrael Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam Tzor kol amim Tzadik b'kol HaTorah Hane'eman Haomer Yosef Hamdaber Ukayim Shekol Devarav Emet Vod Tzedek Ne'eman atahu Adonai Eloheinu V'ne'emanim Yivarecha V'davar echad midvarecha Archor lo Yoshuv Rekam Ki el melech ne'eman V'rachaman atah Baruch atah Adonai Oel ne'eman B'chol devarav Rachem al Tzion Ki beit chayenu V'lau luvat nefesh toshia b'meira b'yameinu Baruch atah Adonai v'sameach Tzion devanecha Samcheinu Adonai Eloheinu v'eliyahu hanovi avdecha U'malchut beito b'meshichecha b'meira yavo yogel libeinu Al kiso lo yeshet zar Lo yinchalu od acherim et kivodo Ki v'shem kodshecha nishbata lo Shelo yikbene ra le'olam bo'ed Baruch atah Adonai Magen David Al Torah v'ya'avodah v'ya'amim v'ya'yom ha'shabbat hazeh Shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu L'kedusha v'linucha L'chavod u'tifaret Al hakol Adonai Eloheinu Anachnu modim lach U'mborchim otach Yitbarach shimcha B'fi kochai tamid le'olam bo'ed Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat
it so much, we're going to invite you back up for Musaf in a little bit. And celebrating your birthday, and at least you don't have to worry about what happens 8 days later at this point in your life, which you have been there for hundreds and hundreds. You have a count, right? How many Brit Milah have you guys done? You had a count. Wow. 746 children he has welcomed into the covenant. I mean, pretty amazing. Love it. Yes, most of them with his wife Jing, all of them with Jing. Incredible what they've done. All right, we are going to turn to prayer for the state of Israel, but we'll do the prayer for our country in English and then the prayer for Israel in Hebrew. So 223. We're going to read together. Our God, and God of our ancestors, we ask you to bless our country, its government, its leaders, its citizens, and its land. We offer a prayer of gratitude for the precious gift of living in a land blessed with supply of physical beauty, individual freedom, economic abundance, and a rich, magnificent history. We offer a prayer of thanksgiving for those who came before us, those whose sacrifices created a strong and vibrant nation. We acknowledge that there are those in our country who are suffering as well. We offer a prayer of hope for those whose cups are empty, for those whose freedoms have been curtailed, and for those who have not been able to share fully in all our country's blessings. We offer a prayer of support for leaders of our government, understanding that leading a nation with such diversity and freedom is a difficult and daunting task. We offer a prayer of action to the citizens of our nation, and we understand our obligation to be involved in making our country a better place for all who live here. Our God and God of our ancestors, we ask you to bless our country, its government, its leaders, its citizens, and its land. And let us say, Amen. In Hebrew, page 224, Avinu Shabbat Sor Yisrael Go'alo, Arech et Binat Yisrael, Reshit Tzmichat Gulatenu, Agen Alea Be'evrat Chastecha, Ufros Alea Sukat Shlomecha, Ushlach Orcha Ve'amitecha L'Mashiach, Zorea Ve'otzea, V'taknin Be'etza Tova Milfanecha, Chazek et Yidei B'gnei Eretz Kodshenu, V'hanchi Lem Eloheinu Yeshua, Ve'ater Yitzachon Teatrem, Ve'natat Shalom Ba'aretz, V'simchat Olam Le'oshveya, V'nomar, Amen. And we turn to the Ashrei, page 231. We invite our 7th and 8th graders to come up and lead us in Ashrei. Oh, God. 3 7th graders, 2 8th graders. One of them will stay up before the David, since his bar mitzvah next week.
Ashrei Yoshvei B'techa, O Yehalelu Hasela.
Ashrei Ha'am Shekachalo, Ashrei Ha'am Shanayoha.
Teila LeDavid, Aramim Varai HaMelech, V'Avraham HaLelam Va'ed.
Ve'choyim HaMordecha, Ve'halashim HaLelam Va'ed.
Gadol Adonai U'Mameo, V'Lidu Ato Ein Heker.
U'R'Dori Shabbat Ma'asecha, U'R'Dori Yavidu.
Hayar Kodol Kadecha, V'Divrei Niflotecha Asicha.
Ve'Zuzortecha Yomeru, U'Toltecha Hasaprena.
Zecher Rabtu Chayamiu, V'Tzikatecha Yiranenu.
Agin Rabim Adonai, Erech HaChaim U'Lachaseh.
Tov Adonai L'Kol, V'Rachamav L'Kol Ma'asav.
Yeridich Adonai Kol Ma'asecha, V'Chasidecha Yivarchucha.
Kavod Malchutecha Yomeru, U'Krotecha Yedaberu.
Levadir Lime'elam Gurota, V'Vodan Armotuto.
Malchutecha Malchut Kol Ha'im, U'Memshatecha B'chol Dor V'Dor.
Sholech Adonai L'Kol HaNevi'im, V'Zokech L'Kol HaKutuvim.
Enei Kol Achai Severu, Ve'atam Shenachem Et Olam Be'ito.
Otem et Yadecha, U'Matzil Kol HaRatzon.
Sa'ati Adonai Kol Ha'Rav, V'Chasid B'Kol Ma'asav.
V'Arov Adonai L'Kol Morav,
Tamar openers and Torah carrier. Yalu et Shem Adonai, Kizkaf Shemo Levado. Odo Eret Shamayim, Vayaren Eret Me'amalo, Tehillah Levo Asiyah, Livnei Yisrael Amroso, Hallelujah.
Mizmor LeDavid. Kol Adonai al Hamayim el Hakavod Yirim, Adonai al Mayim Rabim.
Kol Adonai Ha'akoach, Kol Adonai Behadar, Kol Adonai Shomer Harazim, Vayishamer Adonai et Harzei Hamadon.
Erkim Kimo Egel, Lemanot V'Siryon, Kimo Ben Re'im.
Kol Adonai, Chotzef Lavot Eish, Kol Adonai, Vimar, Yahim Adonai, Vimar Reish, Kol Adonai, Yehovah Hayavot.
Mayim Chesov Yarod, Echalo, Kulo Omer Kavod.
Adonai Hallelujah, Shem Adonai Melech Leolam, Adonai Ozeam Lo Yitein, Adonai Yivarech et Amo Eitz Vayizim, Lemazikva, Betokecha, Beluchar, Yeraecha, Kateroa, Nechotivotecha, Shalom, Hashirei Adonai, Echad Nashuvah, Vayishameinu, We may be seated and close our books for a few moments. How many of you know Ezra Schwartz? Ezra Schwartz in the congregation? All right. Okay. Well, his father, Garrett, is one of the vice presidents and a frequent greeter, and you'll often find Ezra, his very little son, greeting with them. He even has a name tag that says Junior Usher on it. And that's because the kid just loves to help. All right? He's the kid in class or the sanctuary. Always he's the one who volunteers to pass out the papers. He stays behind and collects the books and wants to carry the box of books and my guitar to where it goes. I had him on my soccer team one time. Jonah and I co-coached a team of first graders. He's a good player, actually, very aggressive, but he was also the kid who wanted to set up the cones and be ready. And whatever the context is, he just kind of wants to help. And he usually figures out what he can do on his own. If he doesn't, he just kind of pops up right beside you, like all of a sudden. It's odd, but yeah, all of a sudden he's there. And, can I help? How do I help? Do you need help with anything? And it's great because not only is it helpful, but the name Ezra means help, right? Ezer is help, the one who helps. And actually, the first time we hear the word Ezer, or helper, is in the very first Torah portion, Bereshit, Genesis. And it has to do with Chava, Eve. And I'll get back to that in a few moments because we're not in the first book today. We're in the last book, Deuteronomy. And the parsha is Shoftim, which means judges, not Ezrim, which means helpers. And plus, the birthday boy said, I want to hear your interpretation of Shoftim, and Tzedek Tirdof. So I'm going to start with that, right? Justice shall you pursue, Tzedek Tirdof. It's the first Torah reading, the first Aliyah today. And we translate it as justice, but if I were to translate tzedek on its own without any context, it would be righteousness. Right? It can mean a lot of things, but that's how I would actually translate it. So it's really righteousness shall you pursue, except that it's in Shoftim. It follows the sentence that you're supposed to set up Shoftim and Shoftrim, judges and magistrates, officials, to carry out this system. So therefore, it's probably correctly, or at least possibly correctly translated as justice shall you pursue. But you see, there are two unique things about it just in that sentence alone. First of all, it's repeated, right? It's in there twice. That's a little odd, right? You rarely have that. And second of all, the commandment is not just to observe it, not just to fulfill it, but to pursue it, rodef. And only peace works like that as well, where you don't just fulfill the commandment, you're supposed to chase after it. So, why is it listed twice in a row? Well, the obvious answer is for emphasis, right? That's what the modern reader, or probably any reader, would assume at first glance. And in fact, the great commentator Ibn Ezra says exactly that. It's there for emphasis. But it says not only emphasis, it's also there because it's at all times, in times of, good times and in bad times, whether that pursuit of justice brings you profit or loss, you have to do it. Rashi makes it very simple, although not very literal. He says it means that you're supposed to pursue seeking out a good court for a case. There are bad courts and there are good courts, apparently, fair judges and unfair judges. You seek out the good one. The Hasidic rabbi, Simcha Bunim, in a passage that's quoted probably most often today about what it means, is that it means you have to pursue justice in a righteous way, right? So the first tzedek is, pursue is justice. The second was go about it righteously. In other words, the end doesn't justify the means. It's kind of the anti that. Rabbi Hida, a Musar-loving rabbi in 18th century North Africa in Israel, believes it's actually about tzedakah, that you're supposed to rush to give tzedakah. It really has nothing to do with justice. First you have justice, but then for the society to work, you not only need officials, you actually have to be charitable. That's what he believes it means. But in every case, the line which follows it is leman tihyeh, so that you should live and inherit the land. In other words, a society can't really function without justice and its pursuit. You need justice even basically to live. But you can have a just society, but that doesn't mean it's a very nice society or a kind society. Justice can be cruel and blind and over the top and even almost fascist-like, right? So it's not just, it's not perfect if it's only justice, if it's only tzedek. Now, if you translate it as righteousness, maybe that's a little better. But as important as that is, I wish it didn't say tzedek tirdof. I wish it said chesed tirdof. Loving kindness. That's what you're supposed to pursue. That's the kind of society that I want to live in. As is with everything, there's a Seinfeld for that. But it's kind of an obscure episode, but I just want to, just in case it resonates with someone and you remember this episode, it's when Kramer sets up a system of being friendly to each other, like with the mailroom, and Jerry doesn't want to say hello in the mailroom. Right, so that's a society I want to live in, Kramer says, right? It's a chesed tirdof society. You should try to find it, watch the clip, it's hysterical. Obviously it's Kramer, so it runs amok and awry. But anyway, and the episode's very frustrating, as they all are. But I mean, you need justice to survive as a society or people, but I want to live in society that hastens and doubles down on chesed, not just sed. One where being an Ezra, an Ezer, a helper, is really what it's all about. So I want to go to the passages in Genesis for a second and look at that, and then we'll move along. So it appears in Genesis chapter 2, verse 15. It's the sort of the second version of the creation story where it says, Adam's alone, it's not good for him to be alone, so let's create an Ezer Kenegdo, a helper against him, which is a very odd way of saying it, and there's the commentators argue about that. Well, maybe it means she stands next to him and they look at each other, they fall in love, and they make babies. Like, that's one of the possibilities. Another is an Ezer, if he merits it, against him if he doesn't. But I think it could also mean, right, that we have the choice, right? You can be an Ezer, or if you're not an Ezer, if you're not helpful, you're often against that person. That doesn't mean you're actively against them, but it means you're getting in the way. You have to be actively helpful, and if you're not, it's problematic. So it's the opposite of helpful. In a way, you could be a mikshol, a stumbling block, getting in the way of being helpful. So I wanted to mention all that, but part of it is just a prequel to the story I want to tell, as you'll see, about the Torah and the Bar Mitzvah in Israel, right? A few weeks ago, if you were here, or if you read the blog, about walking the Torah through the streets of Jerusalem, several miles and everybody kissing it. It was a beautiful, beautiful moment. And so all's well that ends well. But the fact that I had to walk the Torah, I know I could have taken a taxi, but the whole martyrdom complex and all that, I didn't. And if you missed the story, go back and watch it from a few weeks ago. You probably will also hear it again on the high holidays, just so you know.
It's a really good story.
It's a great story. And this part's not so great, but maybe I just have to get it off my chest.
It makes for a good story.
And it makes for the end of a good story. But the fact that I had to get that Torah from several miles away is important and really illustrates the concept of getting in the way of being helpful. So the background of the story is the day I was leaving Israel, I was technically leaving the next day at 12:50 a.m. But my last day in Israel, a friend of mine that I grew up with wanted his son's bar mitzvah at the egalitarian section of the Western Wall, Robinson's Arch, right by there. And he since I was going to be in Israel anyway, I've known this person for over 40 years. We both thought it would be really nice and really meaningful for me to be able to officiate at the son's bar mitzvah. Now, Torah reading days are only Monday, Thursday, and Saturday. So Sunday's not a Torah reading day, but in Israel it works differently. There's bar or bat mitzvahs every single day, all over the place. And they allow you to book the space of Robinson's Arch, the egalitarian wall, for any day you want for a bar mitzvah. So it's about a month before, and I figure I better figure out how it actually works. Like, how do I get the Torah out? What kind of prayer books are there? And so I asked a friend who is a conservative rabbi there, and he said, "Oh, you have to talk to such and such a rabbi, whose name I can't even remember. I've maybe perhaps blocked it out, and if I said it, then it would be Lashon Hara." But anyway, so this is the person that it all runs through. And anyway, so I texted this rabbi. I got a phone number to ask for, to make a phone appointment where I could ask her some questions. And she says, "I don't text, I only email. Email me." Okay, so I said, "Okay, I'll email you my questions about the bar mitzvah on Saturday." I think I already said, about this bar mitzvah on this particular Sunday. And then she says, "You can email, but I'm not going to help." Was the next text. And okay. And the reason we're going to help, no, we don't do Sundays. We only help on Mondays and Thursdays. I suppose Saturday afternoon, we only help on Mondays and Thursdays. Sorry, I can't help you. Okay, but what do I do? you know, how do I get a Torah? How do I get a prayer books? I don't know. So I'm confused. I have no recourse. And you have to understand, there's Torahs and prayer books right there. Okay, but they're locked up. So I have no access to that. The family will be happy to pay for someone to come and you know, just unlock it. No, can't help. Maybe talk to, she did suggest maybe talk to a tour company. Okay, so I talked to our tour company, the one who planned our congregational trip, and they said, we can't get a Torah, you have to go through them, but we can get you the prayer book. So that's a different 3-mile walk, which I had to walk a different day to get the prayer books. So I got that. So then that led to a wild goose chase, where I'm talking to all kinds of conservative or egalitarian people, places, and things.
And a few Orthodox.
A few Orthodox ones, but I knew they wouldn't help because, which is also bad. I wish they could and would, but for instance, one of my favorite Orthodox colleagues was trying. He couldn't loan out the Torah from his yeshiva, but he was like racking his brain. Who do I know that has a Sefer Torah, even if it's in the Negev, who might be willing to loan it to you? But we didn't quite get that far. So the next thing I do is, of course, I asked the official conservative movement, the Fuchsburg Center, which is where rabbinical students are trained and the like, and they said, bar mitzvah on a Sunday, which everybody said, even though, of course, there are bar mitzvahs every single day in Israel, all over the place, so it shouldn't have been that bizarre question. But they said, oh, I can't imagine that we would be able to help you on a Sunday, because nobody does that. But you need to talk to this person who works under me, right? And so I talked to this person who works under me, and then for 2 days he's like, did the person who's under you ever get back to you? And I said, no. And then he says, the Torah and the Sidurim are going to be in use by another group that day. But I thought they don't do Sunday. So who's using the Torah on a Sunday, right? So it was just trying to be unhelpful. And I talked to the egalitarian, I talked to one of the non-Orthodox yeshivas. No, our insurance doesn't cover it. I talked to, so you can't have it. I talked to a synagogue where we went a couple of times to, which is egalitarian. They said, we're worried about insurance, plus we can't really get there in the middle of the day to help you. Okay, I talked to my friend in Beit Shemesh, who has a Torah, which was arranged to be there by Joel's dad, Mendel Pizer. We didn't get that far. They would have done it, but there's a problem, is that they need it Saturday afternoon, and I need it by Sunday morning, and the rental cars aren't open on Sunday morning early enough for me to drive there to get it. I would have to rent a car on Thursday in order to drive there Saturday night after Shabbat and come back with it, and then also I'm leaving Sunday, so how do I get it back to Beit Shemesh, which is 45 minutes away? Right, so I hadn't yet talked. There were still a few more people to talk to, but I talked to the head of the World Zionist Organization, who is, or at least one part of it, who is a conservative rabbi in Israel, who was pitching me about why we need to do a better job about when the World Zionist election comes up and electing the Masorti candidates. Well, you scratch my back, maybe I can scratch yours. He said, yeah, it's really tough. That one rabbi controls everything. So I'm like at wit's end. And then finally somebody said, I tried one of the other conservative synagogues, an official Masorti synagogue, the one that's 3 miles away, and Mayanot, the name of it, Gilat Mayanot came through and they said, for conservative rabbis, we will do this. Now, mind you, I just want to tell you that I pay over $3,000 per year in dues to belong to the Rabbinical Assembly. They need to help their colleagues, okay? I mean, and it was truly unbelievable to me. And the same week, coming across my Facebook feed, Rabbi Yisrael Rice, a Chabad rabbi in Marin, posts on his Facebook, when you get an early morning call from the guys at the Yeshiva Outdoor Adventure telling you that they are camping at China Beach and asking if they could borrow your Torah for morning services this week, you don't hesitate to drop one off and join the minyan. Is it any wonder, honestly, why Chabad is succeeding and the conservative movement is stagnant. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that should drive us batty. I mean, you need to go out of your way to help your colleagues. You should go out of your way, period, to help people, right? This was the opposite of chesed, tirdov. This was no little Ezra teaching them how you were supposed to behave.
What is the rationale for being so structured?
There is no rationale. I mean, maybe they've just picked up on the whole bureaucracy thing. I honestly don't know. They really just didn't want to. They didn't want to go out of their way. And listen, if someone had called to ask for our Torah, I didn't know them, I might. But still, if they were a conservative rabbi from Kalamazoo or something, they would be borrowing the Torah, right? I found it crazy. Now, the thing is, I look out in this group, and unsurprisingly, this is a whole group of people, so I'm not going to name any names, but who go out of their way to help. Right? Almost everyone in this room, I know for a fact, goes out of their way to help in so many different ways. I've been the beneficiary of that. Our congregation has been the beneficiary of it. That's why I'm only going to mention Ezra. If I start mentioning names, actually, I will only mention 2 names, okay? Joel and Jing Pizer, right? Because it's his birthday. And the amount of things that they do, medically, personally, gastronomically, I mean, it's really unbelievable what they do. And now, I have a great selfish streak in me, honestly. I know how to protect my time, but I also know, I very much understand the situations where I've needed help, and so I try also to go out of my way, at least, maybe not enough, but I definitely try, because I know that people need help. And our job as human beings and as Jews is to be about loving kindness, to be chesed tirdov, to make life easier for people. I mean, you try to arrange things so people don't have to go out of their way. You go out of the way so other people don't have to. That is really how you're supposed to live life. Most people do it for, maybe their spouse, but not necessarily for everybody else. It's why I'm gonna mention another name here only because for this one instance, because we do this. Elizabeth Sims and I are airport people. All right? We drive people to the airport, and we pick people up at the airport. Everyone says, you can take BART. Yes, I know I can take BART, okay? I know that Uber and Lyft exist, all right? But still, that's not a suggestion. It's easier on someone if you can give them a ride, especially if it's Oakland, okay? I understand SFO, 5 p.m., 8 a.m., it's tough, you're sitting all day, Mike drove Karen to the airport once, it's true, and various angles have driven us to the airport all the time. So, and I know it's a little dangerous here. You should ask me if you need a ride to the airport. I will do it, right? I mean, it was really my dad's thing of blessed memory, and of course, back in the olden days, you would go in and you would wait by the gate, and he would always point his finger when he saw you. He was like, "What was this thing?" And you don't do that anymore, but really, you should give people rides to the airport. You really should. Okay? It's not that much out of the way. And besides, there's all kinds of Uber and Lyft scams that you may be caught up in one day. You just don't know it. What was that?
Juber.
Oh, Juber. Yeah, this is Juber. So Juber should be our congregation. Chesed tirdov. Go ahead and do it. So, and again, I said I wouldn't mention names, but the final name I will mention is Mendel Pizer, Joel's father, who, it's just the story of that Torah, which I've told before, but just in case you don't know it. Their synagogue was one of the synagogues that he was associated with. He was associated with many of them. They were closing. They're now a museum at a minor league baseball park, by the way. Yes, a Jewish museum at a minor league baseball park. What was that?
They're a museum and a minor league.
They're in a minor league, right? Right, so it's the South Bend farm team. And anyway, so he knew that the store wouldn't be used. One of my best friends from growing up from high school, Brenda Ganot, who we were the co-presidents of the Bay Area region for BBYO. She married a guy from South Bend, Indiana, Steve Gardner, changed his name to Ganot for those who understand Hebrew. It means gardens. And they're modern Orthodox, and they live in Beit Shemesh, and they have a women's minyan on Saturday afternoon that needed a Torah. A guy from South Bend found out about it, got to Mendel Peiser, and he arranged for that Torah that women could read from. And it sits there in their house, actually, in Beit Shemesh, where it's used for this women's minyan on Saturday afternoon. That's going out of your way. That's chesed tirdof. So I just want to ask again, do you want to be an Ezra, or do you want to be Kenegdo, the opposite? So let us continue, whatever it is, the practice of chesed tirdof, pursuing loving kindness. Shabbat shalom. All right, Joel, come on up. Lead us in Musaf. Please rise, page 239.
Yikada v'yikada shemei rabbi Madivrach v'lutei v'yamlit malchutei V'chayei chol yom echol V'chayei yachol Beit Yisrael V'agala V'vizman kari V'imaru Amen Yeishnei Rabban Nevorah Vitadar, Vitale, Vitala, Shemede Kudesha Berihu, Leila, Mikol Berchata Beshirata, Tushechata Benet Mata, Damiram Yoma, Vimeru, Amen. Adonai, Sefata Tita, Ufia, Kevodo Shalim Zelazeh. Aye Makom Kavodo. Aye Makom Kavodo. Lumotam Baruch Yomeru. Baruch Yavod Adonai. Mimko Mohu Yifet Berachamim. Yafonam Yavadim Shemo. Erev Boker Bechol Yom Tamid. Amayim Yahweh Shema Omrim. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Hu Eloheinu Hu Avinu Hu Malkeinu Hu Mosheinu Ve'hu Yashneinu B'Rachamav Sheni B'nei Kol Chai Sheni B'nei Kol Chai. V'lo Ani Adonai Elohechem V'reika Shechaka Tuv Le'mor Lo Adonai Le'olam Elohai Zion L'dor Vador Hallelujah L'dor Vador L'dor Vador L'dor Vador L'dor Vador L'dor Vador Nagi God Lecha L'dor Vador L'dor Vador L'dor Vador L'dor Vador L'dor Vador Nagi God Lecha Ulenetzach Netzachim Kedushat HaChagadam Lakdish L'shivach Eloheinu Di'ipinu Lo Yamush Le'olam Le'olam Va'ed L'dor Vador L'dor Vador L'dor Vador L'dor Vador L'dor Vador Nagi God Lecha L'dor Vador L'dor Vador L'dor Vador L'dor Vador L'dor Vador Nagi God Lecha Yamel Gadol Gadol V'Kadosh Gadol V'Kadosh Ata Yamel Gadol Gadol V'Kadosh Gadol V'Kadosh Ata Baruch Atah Adonai Israel HaKadosh.
We're going to continue on our own for the rest of Musaf, pages 247 to 258. Kaddish Shalem, 259.
Shemeda Kudish Abari, Leila Mikal Brachata Bashirata, Dush Bechata Benechemata, Kamirum Amen. Gabel Sotana Barodon, the Call Yisrael, Kadana Bahon Bishran Meru, Amen. Shlomo Rabba Michamaya, B'chaim Alena B'Yakol Yisrael B'Imeru, Amen. Oseh Shalom B'Imramav, Hu Yaseh Shalom, Alena B'Yakol Yisrael B'Imeru, Amen.
Have you back up for Adon Olam shortly as Anna leads us in Ein Elohim.
Torah
כתוב בתורתך נעים לו לעולם ועד, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו May be seated as we lovingly recall the memory of our departed relatives and friends as your sites we observe during the coming week, thinking especially today of Lena Adovich, Edward Lee Berkovich, Philip Bierman, Ann Kamis Brodke, Louis Brodowski, Eva Klein David, Celia Davis, David Davis, Philip Davis, Peter DeVoren, Edith Denenberg, Joseph Dienstag, Robert Hedges Sr., Larry Frankel, Leah Friedman, Elizabeth Glasser, Kenneth Goodwin, Bill Hale, Rose Jaffe, Manfred Kahn, Molly Kessler, Samuel Kestenblatt, Barry Stephen Kramer, Edward Kushner, Jacob Miron, Saul Quitman, Chaim Rom, Eileen Salk, Abraham Schaefer, Benny Schiffman, Irving Isaac Schoen, Jacob Seltzer, Sam Silver. And we are in the Shloshim for Donald Schaefer and Maxine Miller. And we are in the Shiva for Larry Steiner. Memories of all who were with us. We ask all those who are in mourning or observing your side, as well as anyone else who would choose to do so, to rise for the mourner's Kaddish. It is on page 267. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shenei Rabbah, v'alman yivrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechod v'yomecham, v'chayechod b'nei Yisrael, v'agalah zman kariv v'imru, v'yeshnei Rabbah v'vorach le'elam l'omei l'maya, v'yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbahar v'yitrumam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalach, shmei kudsha v'richu, la'elam v'yimkol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, Damiran Yalma Vibru. Yehesh Lama Rabba Min Shemaya. Bechayim Aleinu Vel Ko Yisrael Vibru. O say Shalom Vibroma. Uya say Shalom. Aleinu Vel Ko Yisrael Vibru. Amen. Zikranam Levacham, in memory of the people. And you've come to say Kaddish for be a blessing to you always. And let us say Amen. Call upon President Hurry David Goodwin for announcement.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you to Julie Katz for ushering, and to our Torah readers, John Jacobs and Amy Tesler, to Joel Pizer for the Haftarah, to the Rabbi and Joel for leading our services, and a special thanks to Joel and Jing for sponsoring the Kiddush lunch today in honor of Joel's birthday. You guys are such a blessing to have in our congregation. And may you have another 50 years. It's relatively quiet in terms of announcements. Morning Minyan, Monday and Thursday at 8 a.m. The TBA Book Club is meeting by Zoom on Wednesday at 7:30. A week from today is Bar Mitzvah, and on a personal level, this is the 50th anniversary of the death of my father of blessed memory, who would have been 100 years old 2 weeks ago today. Shabbat Shalom.
May its memory be a blessing. If you are a guest here, there's a lot from the Heiser here to celebrate with Joel. If you're here for the first time and that's not the reason, please come up and say hello to me. You can come and say hello to me even if you aren't here for the Heiser family, but I especially would like to meet you if you just happen this is your first or second time. We'd love to meet you. We're going to conclude on page 269 with Adon Olam. We call on Joel.
Adon Olam, Asher Olam, B'Teren Kol, Yitzir Nivra, Leid Nasa, Lepsa Kol, Asher Malach,